Oh.
So she's like, let's get this show on the road. So I am here because, hi, everybody. So it's International Women's Day. First of all, celebrating everyone on this live who identifies as a woman and celebrating all of those women who are not on this live. I think every day is International Women's Day.
Should be.
Yes, and in my world it is.
Good.
But but I think it's lovely to take this opportunity for a day. So I was here, I was visiting my mom. This was not planned in advance. Yeah, I sprung this on you. But I was here, I knew I was going to be here on International Women's Day, and then I thought, hey there, Too Many Mallows, so great to see you. I thought, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could have like a conversation?
Mm-hmm.
And you were very willing.
Sure.
You did then come last night and you were like, what are we going to talk about? Like, please give me some updates. And so then I did.
She did. She was good. She gave me some things which I did look over, but I don't remember them now. So
it's going to be very spontaneous.
Okay.
And the rules are going to be that I'm going to ask you some questions, but then you can ask me any questions if you want. If you want to turn it back on me, but you don't have to.
Okay.
And then we have had a couple questions from people come in, which is awesome, and thank you for that. And then if you have any questions or topics that you're feeling like you'd love to talk about, just type them in the comments. It would be so great. Hi, Katie Mitchell. Hi, everyone on Facebook. So those are the rules. And then anyway, so yeah, and then I sent you these topics today, and then you wrote back, and it's really long. Don't worry, this won't be too long. But then Mom wrote back and she said, sounds fine, period.
Well, I was just wanting to communicate something briefly.
Right, no, you were like, let's go. And I was like, you didn't think my questions were amazing? Like you didn't, I was like looking for my.
Of course.
Right, no, you do not have to affirm me right now. But I just thought that was funny. So, but we have I wanted to share these. So I really think of today, and part of why I wanted to talk to you, Mom, is because I just think so much today about the women on whose shoulders we're standing, right, and that we're having this conversation because of them. So we brought some photos of, this is my great-grandmother.
And what's amazing about her is that way back in the early part of the 20th century, she and her sister went to college, and this was not something that many women did at that time. And she apparently, the story goes that through my mom, that when she was asked out on dates, and she said, well, I can't go because I have to study for an exam or write a paper, then she never heard from those men again. So she really did put herself out there. She was great, very strong, very domineering, wonderful woman.
She had a shot of apple cider vinegar every day.
And took cold baths every morning.
Oh, I take the vinegar in honor of her. I don't do the baths. Hi, Nikki. How's it going? Yeah, she's really badass. That's really badass. Her name is Esther.
Yes.
Which was going to be my alternate name, right?
Yes, we were thinking of that.
Did not name me Esther, but in honor of her. And then this is my grandma and your mom, Susan. I'm just here with them today. So she was an awesome lady. Yes, thank you. She was an awesome lady. And so was this woman, Susan.
Yes. Very sweet, very different. A little bit under the thumb of her mom.
Yeah.
So she didn't quite stick up for herself the way she should have. But we loved her, and she was just the sweetest mom and the sweetest grandmom to you and your cousins.
I write about her a lot. I think about her every day. I mean, I just think about her so much. But I actually kind of feel like we're here. I really think about Grandma when we're here, because we also pulled up my grandmother kept these incredible, it's hard to see, these line-a-day journals. I don't know if any of you have seen these, where people write one line a day about their lives.
And she always would put in what the weather was.
Yes.
But the weather and what people did, and if she was around family, and she would tell what everybody did and what her husband did, my dad did. It was very sweet. She never missed a day.
It's incredible. I mean, that discipline is incredible.
Right.
And I kind of also feel like her emotions were in between the words. Like, you read these journals and there's like a sentence about the weather and a sentence about all the kids being sick. And then in between the words, you feel her feelings. And I feel like she didn't have the environment or the tools or the context where she could really share those.
She never did.
Yeah, but I feel like one of the gifts that I somehow got is that like we're getting to do that. You know, like I feel like I am able to use the words to like talk about what's in between the lines and the events.
Yes.
So it's an honor of them that we are here. Thank you so much for being here. Hi there. Okay, so good to see you, Ruth and Shilpi. How's it going? Just give us a wave and emojis just to say hi in honor of. I'm here with my mom. For those of you tuning in, Joan Kimball. Okay, well, so this is so cool. I mean, I have like 8,000 questions, but I think I want to start with, so you have been a musician for how many years?
Well, I've been a sort of professional musician since the late 70s.
Wow, so that's like,
so that's, yeah, but it wasn't necessarily what I thought I was going to be doing with my life.
What did you think you were going to be doing with your life?
I thought I had to be a teacher and go out and teach in an inner city school and save the world.
Okay.
Because that was my background, because that was, you know, the Quaker, Puritan, New England,
Right.
everything. You couldn't be a musician. You couldn't be an artist, which is what I wanted to do.
You always knew you wanted to be an artist.
Always wanted to be a musician or an artist, but, you know, I wanted to major in art history and music in college, but that wasn't relevant in the late 60s. So
Yeah.
I chose history and then education, and I taught for 5 years. And I love teaching. I still teach.
Yeah.
I teach a lot of people, but not in an institutional setting.
Right. Right.
So music came a little bit later when I decided, you know, it's okay to do what
So
I want to do.
what empowered you to say it's okay to do what I want to do? Like you had that voice, you wanted to go do it, and then how did you?
Well, I think in part it was because your dad was making that choice too. We sort of made it together in a way. He made it first, and then you know we moved out of DC so he could study with a voice teacher, and in order to move with him I had to leave my teaching job. So and then I just started taking music classes and started taking lessons and started doing all sorts of things with music, and then I said that's what I want to do.
So you then you founded a group.
And then I found.
And you have been the artistic director for how many years?
Artistic co-director since 1985.
Wow.
So, and then we will be celebrating our 30th anniversary of our concert series next year. So it's been a while.
Since I was born. So
she sort of came along the same time. We
Yeah.
incorporated. So I had 2 babies at once.
You did. Well, so that's actually cool. So that's a question that came up from Sarah Mack about how you handled being a mom and being a full-time creator at the same time. I'm trying to talk to the both dots and to you at the same time. It's a little challenging. I'm just going to say that out loud. But anyway, how did you handle that? Like,
well, I mean, in a sense, that one of the advantages of doing something like this is that it was not an 8 to, you know, not a job that I had to go to. So it was a little easier to balance, you know, being a mom
Right.
and being, you know, both a musician where I was making the music and also being an administrator, because my co-director and I, Bob, we didn't have anybody to help us do any of that administrative stuff, write the grants, sell the tickets, all that kind of stuff until after we'd been around for 15 years.
that's a very you answer though, because you said like, well, I had it, you know, I didn't have a 9 to 5, so it was easier for me. Like, I feel like I would have given the answer like, here's how I really struggled, and like these are the obstacles I overcame. Like, you're so humble.
Well, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy.
I remember you were always up very late at night after you put me to bed.
I would read you to sleep.
Yeah.
And then I would go down and work on my computer until about 12:30 or 1.
Yeah.
And I go to get up at 6:30 to get you ready for school. So, and before you went to school, I would try to get a little bit done when you took your very short naps.
I wasn't really a napper.
No, you were not a napper.
Now I'm more working on the napping. Also, this is interesting. This you doing all of the admin work for so many years. And by the way, we'll plug it at the end, but the group is P4O, and I forgot to say, we're also here in honor of Early Music Month.
Yes.
So it's International Women's Day, Women's History Month, and Early Music Month. That's when we were like, how could we not have this kind
And
of
do you know what
discussion?
else it is today? National Noodle Day.
It's also National Noodle Day. I don't really like noodles.
But
Do
that's
you?
what they said. Oh, it depends.
Kind of neutral.
Anyway,
She's
so let's
neutral
not
about
worry
noodles. I think it's also
okay.
National Unplugging Day.
Maybe
We are not currently unplugged. Okay, but so I had this epiphany last year. Or a couple years ago. So many of the women that I talk to and work with and in my life, yes. Oh, Teresa wants to know about what early music is.
Oh, okay.
I interrupted myself. Why don't you tell people
Good question.
first?
Early music is, we sort of categorize it as any music that was written before 1800. So that it includes Bach, it includes the whole Baroque period. But my specialty is in the 1600s, 1500s and early 1600s, sort of, the time, if you want to date it, time of, King Henry VIII and Queen Elizabeth. So that sort of gives you a little bit of a parameter of the music that I study and play.
I brought her on because I don't really have a lot of I don't have a lot of knowledge or talent like that anymore. So I need to kind of bring people around me who have tangible knowledge and talent. Also, there's an early music surprise coming at the end of this live. That's what we call an incentive for you to stay to the end. Yep. Okay, but what a great question. Keep asking questions. They're so good. I really am so happy to see all of you there. Hey, Marcus. Hey, Chris. So I had this epiphany. So we talk so much about self-promotion and how to advocate for your own work. And I think in a world where we have to advocate for our own work, and then for many of us, it feels like such a challenging thing. And so I had this blog post on my computer that was called How to Promote Yourself When You Hate Promoting Yourself. That was the title. And then there was a blank page for 3 years because I knew I needed to know this, but I had no answers. I couldn't figure out. So anyway, I've written about this, so I won't go into it for a long way, but I met this politician at the bottom of a subway platform. And I thought she was just a volunteer for her campaign giving out. She was running for city council. I thought she was just a volunteer for a campaign giving out flyers. And then I realized, as she said her name, that she was the person running on the day before the election at the bottom of a subway platform, handing out flyers. And I, of course, cried and had a huge emotional response. And then I walked up to her and I was like, thank you so much for what you're doing. I can't believe that you're here doing this the day before the election. And she just looked into my eyes and was like, and she had tears in her eyes. And she was like, it's really hard. It's really hard. Thank you. And then I just basically went down and had a breakdown on the subway. But I had the breakdown because I all of a sudden realized I grew up. We just handed out flyers. That's my childhood. I just remember handing out a lot of flyers.
Yeah, and also you handed out programs at the concert.
I also was I handed out programs.
And see how we without administrative help, we used family.
Oh yeah, so Sarah Mack, another answer is use your children to help further your operation. But I really resented, I remember you'd have these tote bags with these flyers. This is before social media. And we would just, after school, we'd go to all the local businesses and you would just walk in and you'd be like, hey, do you want our flyers? And I would be mortified. I hated that we had to do it.
It's funny, I don't remember that, but I guess you hid it from me that you.
I was good. I was good at hiding my emotions.
You were a good little girl. You didn't let me.
You didn't know.
I didn't really know.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah. But I was because I think I felt like if you gave out flyers, you somehow were really needy. It's we didn't have everything together. We didn't have our ducks in a row. And so I met Edie Fox, and then my respect for you really doubled. And I realized the person who's going to teach me how to write that article is you, because you've been doing it for 40 years.
Yeah.
So what's your secret? How do you do it?
Oh, you have to do it. Although I don't mind so much advertising, sort of handing out flyers or doing that, telling people about it. The very hardest thing is what you have to do as a nonprofit is ask for money for it.
Asking for
and
money.
That just is the hardest thing in the world for me. I luckily we have an administrator now who does all that, and a good board of directors that helps us. But when we had to do it earlier
shout out to the board and Shannon.
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely, they're amazing. I just hated that, and even now when Shannon asks us to meet with a potential donor, it's I don't want to make the ask.
Yeah,
it just feels and it's why should they give money to us?
Right.
And I still, when we get these big gifts, which we're getting quite a lot now, it's why are they giving our money to us. It's like, it's sometimes hard to believe, that people do now.
Well, that's the hard part. I feel like even the self-promotion thing or the asking for money is like, you have to respect yourself and take yourself seriously enough to say, hey, this is me, I'm doing this thing, come to this thing, or hey, this is me, will you support this? I think it takes such humility and bravery.
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like, if you're here, just give us a shout out if you too are on some kind of journey where you're having to fund your own work, or also share about your work and promote it. I was thinking about this because a poet, David White, talks about vulnerability being scary, because when you're vulnerable, you could, people can touch you. And then when people can touch you, they can hurt you. Mm-hmm. And I really think anytime you promote your work or share your work, it's a kind of vulnerability. And right before this call, I did 2 things that were on my list of things I don't do, but I did them anyway. And I just felt right, you get hurt. Because I went into my mailing list and I just sent a blog this morning and I checked I never check the unsubscribes. Uh-oh. And I checked the unsubscribes, which is on my list of things to not do because my tender little heart can't take it. And then you see a name of a person that you know. You see a bunch of people that you don't know, and you see a name of a person that you know, and your heart breaks. And I'm just reminded that every single time we make that journey of putting yourself out there, and the more tender your heart is, just the more kind of near it is to.
Sure, and it's as simple as somebody sending in a back envelope. So we don't want to be in your mailing list anymore.
Oh, they right. So they send you a note.
Sometimes they say, I can't. I don't want to. I'm not interested. I don't want to be in your mailing list. And it's you shouldn't begin to take that personally, but it's hard not to.
I know. It's my rule: don't take it personally. And then I find myself sometimes taking it personally. So also anyone else out there who is on that continuum, knowing that we know that to move forward, in fact, there will be more and more people who don't like us and don't like our work. And that actually means we're doing a good job. It means we're finding the right people, but it is so hard when we just want to be liked.
That's right. Unfortunately, it's sort of written into our bones, especially from our family, I think.
Yeah.
Wanting to please and wanting to be liked.
I think, so this is the interesting thing. Yeah, it is so hard, Kelsey. I know. Anyway, I wanted to talk about it because I prefer to talk about uncomfortable subjects. I'm actually feeling a little less nervous now that we're here. How do you feel?
Yeah. I think this is fun.
It's
No, I do.
She's not going to tell me if it's not fun publicly. So
we'll talk afterwards.
You're a good representative. Yeah, I feel wow. I just lost my thought.
You have a list.
I know I do have a list. But it was something about the advocating for ourselves. But I'm going to come back to it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back to it. Yeah. So, oh gosh, see, this is what I was trying to do. Decline. Okay, live video back. We're back. This is what I want to talk about. Okay, so you said people pleasing is a thing that's in our family. What I have noticed is every woman that I have ever talked to, I think, in my work, is working through that, is working through this desire to be liked and recognized and affirmed. Mm-hmm. And my desire and one of my goals is, how do we figure out what's beyond that? What is beyond, what is more important than recognition and affirmation and being liked? Because I think that, to me, is the future of how women can take greater leadership, is we have to get beyond that. And so many people are working to get beyond that, so we can really realize the full leadership power that I believe we need right now in our contemporary moment. So this, I wrote down this question for you about, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? Because a lot of people talk to me about how they say I have imposter syndrome really bad, almost it's this secret about them that's really shameful. And it's their personal problem. And I have realized that it is the personal problem of every woman I've ever talked to. So have you experienced these sort of chronic feelings of I don't think, like I'm waiting to be found out that I'm not as good as we think. There's more.
Sorry, no,
it's good. It's just a sign that we're in a busy office. You know, it's a robust operation. Talk to me about, have you experienced imposter syndrome?
Oh yeah, and I think that part of it was that when I got into this, I made a decision later on to become a musician.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a music degree. I went back to school and got the equivalent of it, but I always, and my partner Bob is the same way, and yet all the people that we work with have masters and PhD or DMAs or PhDs in music, and it's, you know, because we sort of came up self-taught.
Yeah.
It feels like we're not as legit, and so we both, and I think I probably even more, what we both do. I think we feel that it is, you know, what are we doing? How can we, you know, assume this role of being leaders, and when we really don't have the training, the background, although we certainly have picked up a lot of knowledge along the way, but it's very strong. Yeah, it really is.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's, yeah, I think we all have a thing that's like, we decide that there's a certain, like, what legitimacy means, and then we decide there's something about us that doesn't fully add up to that.
Right.
So if you had the DMA, it would be something else. That didn't.
Probably it would be. Yeah, probably would be. But I think that's one of the things that makes that feeling pretty strong in me. It has over the years. And
yet you still show up. They have been going for 40 years. You do concerts every year. You have a concert series. You tour all over the world. What do you do? How do you get over those feelings?
I mean, I think when you involve yourself in the day-to-day of it, you just do. I mean, you know, we have to plan programs. I mean, we just finished putting together a program that we'll be performing next weekend, and getting all the ducks in a row.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about
talk about that.
I'm putting a pin in that. I have a question.
I know. Yeah. All right. And getting everything set. So, you know, you have to do your practicing, and I make reads for all my double reed instruments.
And she makes reeds. We should have brought some reeds down here,
but whatever. Anyway, so, you know, you involve yourself in the day-to-day.
Yeah.
And get done what you need to get done, and then you sort of, that doesn't weigh as much, because you can't think about that when you're doing the work. Right.
You are very good at doing the work. So talk to me about that. You have a very disciplined music practice. How do you show up every day for your practicing?
Mostly every day, yeah.
Yeah.
I do something almost every day with music, whether it's practicing an instrument or making reads or working on music. I'm always every day doing something that has to do with that. So that's, definitely part of my routine.
Yeah, and sometimes people struggle. They know that they need to be doing something every day, but it's hard to do it. So how do you show up every day? First of all, how many instruments do you play?
A lot.
You got to go on p4o.org and just check out the instruments. Also, the Google thing is cool too.
Google Cultural Institute.
They're on the Google Cultural Institute, and you can take a look at all their cool
along
stuff.
with the New York City Ballet and a couple of other big groups. So
it's a little name dropping there. I like it. I like it. Tell me about, so how do you show up every day though? Because it's like all the self-promotion in the world doesn't do anything. Piffaro, Kelsey, Piffaro. Thank you for asking for the spelling. You can promote. It doesn't really matter until the rubber meets the road, when you are in the act of making the music, and you have to make it on your own if you want to make it in a group.
Right.
So how do you show up in that practice room every day?
It's there, so I go into it, or I'm sitting in the office working at the computer and putting music in, making additions.
Right.
So that's all part of it, really. I mean, some days I'm not actually sitting down and practicing for an hour. I think that's the difference between a modern player, say, a pianist who wants to be a solo pianist, or a violinist who wants to be a solo violinist. I mean, they will practice for 5 to 6 hours a day. Yeah. And I've never done that. I mean, I will practice if I have to. If I have a lot of things coming up, I'll practice for an hour, a couple hours at a time. But, I'm not one of those. I never have been. And I think early musicians don't have quite that same need to do that, because, there's just not as many notes that we have to worry about.
I know, but you still
lots of different instruments, but not so many notes.
Yeah, but I think you've just decided. I think you've made a decision that this is what my day looks like. And every afternoon I go to my studio.
Just about.
When we're not touring or rehearsing.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Sometimes the weekends I don't, but take breaks. I take breaks.
She does not want to celebrate her accomplishments. Do you notice this? Okay, this is so good. Mom, I want to talk about your ducks. I talk
Okay.
about my
I
ducks.
love your ducks.
You
I
do?
love your nonlinear
Why?
ducks.
Why do you
I
like
just
them?
love the image of your nonlinear ducks. Oh, first of all, I love mallard ducks.
I know, we love ducks.
We
We've
love
always
ducks
loved ducks.
In part because I grew up outside of Boston, and
Right.
so the Make Way for Ducklings was my favorite book when I was growing up, and I gave that to you, and I would go in sometimes with my mom and watch the ducks. And actually, right now in Philly, I walk down by the river, and there's a new little walkway around this little island, and I always go down there and watch the ducks. And mallard ducks are just the sweetest little things, and they don't swim in a row.
Some of them don't.
Some of them don't.
It's
Some
true.
of them go like this and like that. So your image is just very touching to me.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, so do you think your ducks are linear or nonlinear?
I think it depends on the day.
I think that's apt for you.
I think so.
that's right.
Some days they are, and they have to be. And other days, man, I start one thing here, and then the duck goes off that way, and another one goes off that way, and another that way. So
Right.
It's absolutely
Right.
depends on what needs to get done and what the day is.
And anyone out there, just tell us like if you feel like if your ducks are linear or nonlinear. And also, all ducks are good ducks, whether or not you feel like. And Baldy Michael just joined in. He said that this is my fiance. He said that his ducks are very linear, which I know that to be true.
Hi, Michael.
It's a very interesting relationship when you are in a relationship with someone who has linear ducks and your ducks are non-linear. But I actually think it's quite potent when you can find each other.
Actually, my partner has very linear ducks.
Yes, that's
very
true.
linear ducks, and so that makes it good because he oftentimes follows the linear track.
Right.
And I go this way, but the trouble is with a linear track, sometimes he misses things on the sides, and I have to pick up the pieces on the sides.
Oh, that's okay. So another value of having nonlinear ducks.
Yes.
So yeah, tell us if you feel like your ducks are linear or nonlinear. Right. My dad, your first husband, has nonlinear ducks for the most part, with flashes, with notes of linear ducks.
Yes.
Yeah, so we got to come up with a term that houses kind of both, because I'm fully nonlinear, but I think you've got some.
I've got both.
You're a bit of both, which is really cool. I have a very serious question for you. The title of this one is called Skills Gap. Okay, you are extremely good at carpentry and home repairs. How come I didn't get this gift?
I don't know. I did try to teach you. I remember trying to teach you how to knit.
Oh, that was a disaster.
That was a real disaster.
I didn't have the patience.
No, you from day one, your interest has been in people and relationships from day one. All your little toys. I mean, you would take 2 sticks that you would find in the park, and they would be people. So your skills are totally around relationships and doing things with people and building things with people.
Yeah.
Building families and schools and everything else. That's been your life, and you just weren't interested in it, and that's fine. I don't think that.
Oh,
that's a
thank
problem.
you. She's so encouraging.
But I would like to teach you how to hang a picture on the wall,
Which I still can't do.
So,
I'm fascinated. She's so good at, like, she plays music, but then she can like fix stuff and put shelves up, and it's just this thing that I missed. So I really admire that about you.
Okay, well, we'll still keep working on that list.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna go. Mom, I want to ask you about like, if you could talk to your younger self, like yourself when you were kind of just starting out in music, what would you say to her?
That's an interesting question. I would say, I think, just to have a little bit more faith in yourself, because I don't know, always felt sort of far behind and wanting to catch up and eager to catch up, but never feeling that it was enough. And the interesting thing is, I suppose what is good is that, sort of coming by pulling myself up on my bootstraps, I feel as if I still have a lot to learn, and I'm still learning, and I'm still growing.
Yeah.
And that's sort of exciting that I can keep keep working on my instruments and keep working on my skills.
Yeah.
And so I think it would just be to have more faith in myself than I think I did.
Yeah. Let's talk about the being behind thing for a second, because you got some hearts. I think that means people
Hi.
agree. No, it means it's a sort of a form of a shout out. People are saying yes. It's like a snaps way of
Okay.
But because this thing about being behind. Okay, so I realized recently that I say, "Hey, Doug Peck," I say, "I'm behind all the time."
Hey, Rick. This is Rick Fisher. Hi, Rick. Hi, Lisa.
I say I'm behind all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say I'm behind sort of on a daily basis, but then sometimes on a larger basis.
Yeah.
And you just said like I felt really behind. And hands up if this is something that you also sometimes experience, of like these constantly feeling like there's a train and you're running to catch up to it. Anyway, so I made a March goal of I'm not going to say I'm behind anymore. But it's very hard because I don't know how to talk about the fact that I have like 20 unanswered emails that need to be answered today. But I feel like, to me, it's a little bit of a larger thing because, a lot of people are resonating with that train, feeling like we're catching the train. But I think for women, I realized if I'm constantly using the language I'm behind, that's not contributing to the larger conversation I want to have about women, which is like, let's no longer be behind. So I think so much about how like our little bits of language, even to ourselves and in our small and intimate conversations, can further the larger conversation along. So anyway, I made this new rule, but it's hard.
Yeah.
You had a thought about that?
No, I mean, I get this panicky feeling of I should have done this and I should have done that. And the trouble is with when you're always feeling slightly behind, then you're working on one thing and realizing that, oh my God, I should be doing that. And sometimes I don't know whether you find this too, but I think you're more disciplined than I am, that I want to get into a project and yet I sort of, I'm going, I'm working on my reads, I'm working on getting this right. But then in the back of my mind, well, I should be doing this. And that's, I don't know if other people experience that, but that's very frustrating because it's like I come to the end of the day, well, I was going to do this and this and this, and I didn't get to that and that because I spent too much time doing that.
Right. And I think about the compound effect of a lot of like a lifetime of days where we feel that way.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about how we end the day with a little bit more reverence for what we did do.
Right. It's hard. Actually, it's funny. One thing that my partner and I do when we have dinner together almost every night. Part of the day we're together, then part of the day we're separate. When we're separate, we sort of go over what did we do. We share what we did, and sometimes it's good because we can affirm that in the other person that you got that done. That was good. I agree that having a connection with somebody is really nice to share that sort of end of the day when we're having dinner. Having our G&T.
Are we allowed to talk about that on, I think so. Yeah, G&Ts.
G&T time.
Real big fan of G&Ts. So if anyone, affirmations at the end of the day can be lovely.
Yes.
I like to strong arm Michael into doing that sometimes. So if you have any questions or want to share anything or ask us before we get to the end of this, just type your questions in the comments. But I'm curious, Mom, so something that I really think about on International Women's Day is like I just want to keep asking women about their vision and what their frontier is. So what do you feel like your next frontier is?
Well, it's interesting because both of us are coming to the point where how much longer do we want to keep this organization going? We've been it's a mom and pop, as it were, and we're trying to think about whether we hand it off to somebody else.
It's an internationally recognized mom and pop.
I know, but in the sense that what that means is that it's founder.
Right. Is still running it.
Founder driven, and so we have to decide. And Bob wants to leave after maybe 2 or 3 years so he can do his other things. I'm not sure what my next frontier is. I think one of it, in terms of what I would do next, when I don't want to keep playing music when I'm on stage playing an instrument and everybody else is saying, oh, she can't quite cut it. Both Bob and I feel very strongly about that. That, here we are in our early 70s, and if we can't maintain the same standards, we don't want to be up there.
Yeah.
So we're trying to keep very close tabs on that for ourselves. But in terms of what I want to do, I won't be playing music anymore. Will I still be studying music? Will I still be reading music? Actually, one of the things I want to do, I want to go back and take a course in 20th century pop music.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I want to learn more about that. I want to learn more about jazz. I want to learn about early rock. I want to learn. I find that fascinating.
It's fascinating to me because I felt a lot of shame growing up because I went to school and everyone was like, have you heard of this pop tune or this pop tune? And I was like, 100% no. I've only heard of early music and opera. That's how I grew up. Oh, that's really cool.
That's
That's
I might
really
also
cool.
want to get back to in terms of, one of my previous careers was making jewelry.
She's an incredible jeweler.
Silver jewelry.
She's a multifaceted woman.
Those are frontiers for me. I mean, just frontiers, but just things that I might want to do in my future.
I love that. So we thought you might have something to share with us today.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you share a little bit?
Sure.
Okay. So we're gonna share a little bit of music because I thought that would be cool, and also because that's part of how I just bring other people onto these lives maybe who actually have skills that are impressive. Okay, this is a bagpipe. This is a Renaissance bagpipe. This is my childhood. You gotta make sure Instagram can see it. Yeah, come closer. That's Facebook. Yeah, okay. Good. Okay, I'm gonna talk about, you're gonna go. She's ready to go.
Ready?
Okay, she's gonna go. Yeah. Wow! You can't hear them clapping. You gotta see all those hearts.
Nice.
Wow.
So that little tune, which is a snippet of a little tune, is the tune that's going to open our program next weekend.
Oh yeah. Okay. That's a good transition to the
I
plug.
know.
That is a very expert transition.
I know.
Okay.
Hey, I haven't been involved in marketing for nothing.
No, she's the self promotion. You're going to teach us about that. So tell us about the show in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So for this are the 6 members and 1 guest wind player. So 7 wind players are going to be joining up with 6 string players from New York City to play a program of, it's all dance music, which is rather unusual for us because usually we include little bits of dance music. But it's all music from an amazing print collection of dances from 1612 that was put together by a composer named Michael Praetorius. And it's dances from all over Europe, mostly France, but also some from Germany, Italy, and Spain, and a tremendous amount of variety. And it's going to be really fun because with all our different instruments, we're going to be able to bring out all the colors of the dances. Anyway, to find out more information, just go to p4o.org.
Oh, that's so good. That was such a good plug. And I might be able to put that, I can put that in the comments later, at least on Facebook. Yeah. This is so cool. One of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation is because I feel like we do a lot of talking about parenthood with kids, and then as people end their lives, we talk about that relationship. But this very interested in this relationship of being an adult and you being my mom and watching how it's transformed. But I feel like we just had a new experience together.
Right.
We've never done a public conversation, but I feel really grateful that we got to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your life amazes me, and everything that you do amazes me. And I have the most incredible admiration for how you've carved a path for yourself and done so many different things with all the talents you have and the way you've incorporated everything in what you do. And this is sort of, I get to see little snippets of it. I'm really glad that I'm on your mailing list, so I get your blogs and I read everything that you send.
That's so nice. Unlike my father, who only responds to the blog with the typos that were in the blog, which has already been published, or sent out to all the people on the mailing list, which is thank you for letting me know that the typos are now out in the world. You just send affirmations, which is really nice. Thank you. That's meaningful.
And I think that what this kind of thing sort of I feel gets me to know you even better, and I think that's special. But one little thing I wanted to say: from the moment you were born, I remember saying to myself, I'm going to have a friend for life. And there's something so cool about having a daughter. I would have loved to have had a son too, but there's something about having had a daughter, and our your growing up time, and our relationship was pretty good. There were rocky times to be sure, as there are in any relationships with a teenager, but I've always had the feeling that there was this connection, and that it would grow as you got to be an adult, and I think it has. I think we've really been able to communicate well with each other.
I think we're growing our friendship.
I think it's
live on the internet right now. Wow, this is so cool. Okay, so I often like to end conversations with some kind of dare. I really like dares because they're consensual, but they also can call us forth into a next level of becoming. So do you have a dare for any people who are watching?
Not specific, but just dare to be to go after what you want and not what other people think you should do. And this is what took me so long to realize as a young adult, that I could go after what I wanted to do and not what all the expectations around me. So whether it's something little that dare to do that, or something really big, just go out and do it. How it says inside you and not from the outside.
Yeah,
that's
sort of
great. General, but
dare to go after what is calling to you on the inside of your heart. I concur with that. How are we going to end this experience? I feel like the bagpipe was the button. I should have ended with that.
That's okay.
But thank you all for being here. This is super cool. I just want to say, part of why I wanted to do this was I just don't think we can talk to women enough about what their visions are and what their experience has been like. So my dare today is, Michael says, play it on the way out. Oh yeah, can you play us out with the bagpipe?
Sure.
You'd have to blow it up again.
No.
Okay, we're gonna do a take two. Good idea, Michael.
But you were gonna say something.
Oh yeah, but you blow up and I'll talk. So the dare is to talk. I heard something today about questions. Oh, listen as exquisitely as you want to be heard. I love that. Listen as exquisitely as you want to be heard. So I dare us to listen as exquisitely to other women as we want to be heard ourselves today and every day. Okay, we're gonna go off with a song. I have appeared in P. Rose shows as a Renaissance dancer with very little experience. I was just having an impulse, maybe I should dance, but.
And you as an actor too.
And as an actor, yes. Okay, she's gonna play us out and then we'll just say goodbye. So thank you so much for coming. This is really fun. I hope you all have beautiful days. It's do it. Okay, I'm gonna dance a little bit. I'm getting dared from the audience. Okay. Trying to remember how to Renaissance dance. I don't really remember. Okay. Thank you all for coming. I love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, and bye Facebook. Thank you for sharing.